Hi everybody, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Sukja. Thank you for tuning in. This is going to be a wrap-up video. So in it, I'm going to be talking to you about the 3 books that I read in the month of September. I hope September was a good reading month for you. Month of September, there was a lot going on. So it's amazing that I managed to read 3 books even. They're from 3 different genres. The first book is A Wrinkle in Time by Madeleine L'Engle. I heard about this book when I was watching Ted Lasso last month. Ted Lasso is a TV show on Apple series. It's about this football coach, and he recommends this book to one of his students and says that it's about leadership. So I went into this expecting something about that. I'm sure it does deal with leadership, but what I really enjoyed is the whole science fiction aspect, and it's about traveling through time, creating like a wrinkle in time and traveling across dimensions. So it's about Meg and Calvin, who are siblings, and they have a friend who they meet one day, and the 3 of them decide to embark on an adventure to go in search of Meg's dad, who has disappeared, and she misses her dad. They go to a different dimension, different planet. They meet enemies along the way, and yeah, there's this whole dialogue about good and evil in this book that plays out. There's this whole thing about trust, and there were also mentions of Jesus in here, which is why I think this book was kind of banned or got into a lot of controversy when it was published in the 50s, I think. I'm not sure exactly when. They have to beat evil forces along the way. So parts of it I think would be too intense for middle grade. This book is kind of recommended to middle graders. I read it in one sitting. It was entertaining. And would I read it again? Probably not. But then if you are somebody who likes science fiction and adventure, 3 young people meeting another 3 people who can do magic and teach these kids how to kind of travel across time and teach them life lessons along the way as well. If that's something that's up your street, then you should pick this up. I would have, in retrospect, preferred not to have picked this book up. It was just 2 out of 5 stars. It was interesting. Just something to enjoy in the moment. I don't think I'll be watching the film. After seeing the IMDb rating, I was like, I shouldn't probably watch the film. There were a lot of weird names in this book, like the evil characters named It, and then you have Miss What's It, and Miss Who and Miss Witch, who are the 3 magical ladies who kind of, equip the kids with what they need, the skills to kind of conquer the evil forces. So yeah, that's what this is about. If you're expecting detail as to how things are happening the way they're happening, you won't get it in this book. So yeah, that's what I have to say about A Wrinkle in Time. The next book I read is by far the favorite book of September. This is The Family Tree by Sairish Hussain. This book I really enjoyed reading. It's a proper novel. It's about 500 pages long. It's about a Muslim family in England. They live in Leeds. So I studied in Leeds. Like I lived there for a year. I was in the University of Leeds doing literature. So I kind of enjoyed reading this book and knowing that it's set in Leeds. It's about this man who kind of immigrated to the UK, but also his children who grew up there and identify as British citizens. He talks a lot about being an outsider in the community and the kind of difficulties that you face in terms of racism and things like that. Also has a reference to 9/11 and the repercussions of that this family faced. So it's about Amjad and Sahil. Those are the main characters, and how Sahil kind of loses his best friend, or rather his best friend has an accident and he becomes brain dead. So there's a lot of heavy stuff in this book. It's an emotional read, and it really makes you kind of get into the 4 walls of this house where this family lives, and you really kind of go on this journey with the family members, and you really understand from their own points of view how life is so challenging when you're an immigrant and when you're not from that country. I had a quote from Aisha Malik, who wrote This Green and Pleasant Land, which I read last year and I really liked. I heard about this from one of the other booktubers, I think Mercy's Bookish Musings, who recommended this heavily, so I decided to pick this up. I really enjoyed it. It has a lot of ups and downs. It's a fast-paced page turner and there's always things happening, so it really had my attention. It kept me hooked. I learned a lot about life for Muslims in England and the challenges and what it means to be part of a family. It has very interesting characters. I think it's very much character driven, so if you like this kind of contemporary read and if you're curious about immigrant tales, then you should pick this up. The 3rd book I read in September is Passing by Nella Larsen. So I was aware that the Netflix adaptation is on. I tried watching that, but it was so far removed from the story that I couldn't really continue with the adaptation. So I just read this book because I also have The Vanishing Half, which I'm currently reading, by the way. I'll be updating you on The Vanishing Half on my Instagram page. It's called the Bookish Bulletin. Please follow me on Instagram as well for reading updates. Passing is a classic which I've always wanted to read. This is about two women. A little confused right now because I just read this last month and now I'm reading The Vanishing Half, which is also about two sisters. This isn't about two sisters, but it's about two friends. This is about two friends, Claire and Irene, how one of them decides to pass and the other one remains within the African American community, and how their lives go in totally different directions after that. Claire is someone who's not being true to herself. She is married to an abusive, racist white man. So she obviously feels nostalgic towards the community she left behind, and she encounters Irene one day and her life changes completely after that encounter. And they drift to an extent where it becomes kind of unhealthy. The relationship becomes toxic, what these two women have. And it ultimately results in very dangerous repercussions, and the consequences are very tragic and telling. So I won't give it away, but back in the day, passing was quite common in this community, and they did it because they felt it was easier to survive as a white person as opposed to a black person, obviously, which is true given the circumstances and how difficult life was, how it was hard to get ahead if you weren't white. That's what this is about, and I enjoyed it, but I think it was a little intense towards the end, a slightly disturbing turn as well. So those were the 3 books I read in September. I'd like to know what you're reading, what you've read, what you've enjoyed, any recommendations you have for me. Please leave them in the comments down below. I will be back with more bookish content. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. You can also choose to hit the bell icon so you'll get notified every time I post a video. That's it from me. I'll see you very soon. Bye.